there's too many of you crying.
Welcome to another edition of What's Hot. I'm Howard Eagle, your host. We'd like to thank the community for tuning in and remind you that you can catch us right here at RCTV, Channel 15, every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. If you'd like to contact us regarding the possibility of coming on the show to give us feedback or for any other reason, please feel free to call us at 752-1426. We'd like to acknowledge and thank the men behind the camera week after week, our co-producer, Mr. Dana Bratcher, our technical supporters, Mr. Rajesh Barnabas, Mr. Ben Dean Kawamura, and Mr. Nate Castillo. Joining us is our co-host, as usual, Mr. Wallace Smith, and we have this is the second segment of a discussion that we started last week with Mr. David V. And just when we were closing the first segment, you were making a point. Let's start with that point, and then we'll shift back to.
Yes, I was applauding Davy V for his analysis of the self-hatred among the minority element, especially blacks and Latino police officers on behalf of their community, and how you were saying that's a very dangerous situation. It's very explosive, because if we know now, that gave a rise to the Hitler self-hatred, that syndrome, okay? Hitler was a Jew, okay? And that self-hatred that he had for his own people caused him to exterminate more than 2 million of his own people, okay? And nobody put it in check. And that's why it's such a dangerous culture to have. People need to be, I'm glad he's doing this expose on those comments on the blog and wherever else, because if we don't put it in check, okay, guess what it will give a life to, okay? Something that's escalating in a much more rampant way than it is right now.
Sure, I see similar comments in the print media. In fact, I respond to a lot of the ones in the print media. What's a shame is that people won't come from behind those blogger names and engage in real discussion about this critical issue that we have, facing us in our society. That's part of what we need to do, is have real dialogue with one another, face to face. We were discussing your work over the years and your latest projects. You have mentioned that you're starting the first ever police brutality hotline. Tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yep. What I've been doing is getting support from the community, and the support has been great. I have my DVDs, which feature two of the documentaries that I made. But over the years, something that's always been on my mind, and that people have kind of planted the idea in my head, I've been approached by a lot of people saying, what do I do? I was beaten up, or what do I do? I was assaulted, or I was stopped, and my girlfriend and me were harassed. And so many people basically would tell me that they didn't really have a clue. And it's sad. Again, it kind of piggytails on the part that I was talking about in our last show, in our last segment, which is about the complacency and a lot of people just being clueless. Now, you got people that have been abused, okay, intimidated, humiliated, okay, profiled, okay, by the RPD or any other law enforcement in our area, Monroe County here, and don't even have the first clue as to what to do. So many times, most of the time, they don't do anything. Okay. And so it's almost like I used to tell people, okay, what do you think? The police abused you, he bullied you, he physically assaulted you. Do you think this officer is going to come to your door and knock and say, listen, I kind of feel bad about what I did. Here are the steps to filing an internal affairs or a report on me. Of course not. So what I'm starting is Rochester's first and only, for lack of a better word, and I haven't come up with the title yet, but again, the title's not important anymore, so it's going to be what it serves. And it's basically a cop watch sort of style plan where it's like a clearinghouse of police brutality and misconduct, educating and informing the citizens, and victims of police brutality what to do, who they can go to, how to go about filing a complaint, how to go about filing internal affairs, which I say with a little smile on my face because internal affairs is the biggest joke there is.
Yeah, you got it.
And the gentleman earlier in our last segment said something that gave me goosebumps when I heard, because my dad was one of many over the years in this community who at city hall meetings, whether it was through Erlacher, whether it was when it was Irving or Robert Warshaw, basically Warshire, I believe, was a little bit after my dad had passed already. But Irving, I have a photo with my dad confronting and standing up at City Hall, okay, in a packed a meeting. And my dad's been gone since '93. So it's sad that we're still talking about what my dad struggled and fought so hard for, among other great leaders here in our community, a civilian review board, like he said, perfect, with subpoena power. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Not this other joke. It's a joke.
Sure.
It's what it is. It's just it's puppets up there. It's just a look, we have something implemented. So with my hotline, it's going to just serve as an outlet, which is, I feel, is much needed, and just another step in exposing these officers who have taken it upon themselves to abuse blacks and Latinos in our community.
Sure. Now, I want to once again issue an open invitation to Chief David Moore, and/or his representatives to appear on our show anytime that they like. All you have to do is give us a call at 752-1426 if you have a different perspective. We welcome that perspective.
And you'll invite me on that show too, right?
Absolutely.
You'll have me on that
If
one.
they don't object,
I'd like to be here when any official, especially Chief Moore from the RPD.
Absolutely.
I'd like to be here for that.
Now, what we're about is informing the community, giving the community information. If Chief Moore or his representative would agree to come on the show and have the discussion with you, we would welcome that, and we think the community would welcome that.
I welcome. I put that challenge and request personally out to Chief Moore or any other spokesperson from the RPD to join me on the show. Join me and let's debate these issues that have been going on in this city from before I was even born. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it, and let's talk about what you guys are doing. Let's talk about what the RPD is doing to change this stuff. I don't want to see a smile on a press conference. I want to talk about real stuff. Show me real stuff that's going on. Show me training or retraining of some of these officers. Show me that what happened years ago, which I believe this officer is not in the force no more, that made up a lingo, a verbal lingo. You know what I mean?
I remember.
For the hood talk is what he called it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Show me that stuff.
I remember.
Show me that something's really done. And I'll tell you this: one man cannot control a force. Chief Moore cannot control a force of 700 plus. But I challenge you. I would love to, and not in any animosity way, in a professional way, as men, as grown men, sit on this stage here and show the community what the RPD is doing, okay, to eradicate the racism, the profiling, the abuse that is committed on a daily basis by officers of the RPD to black and Latino members of our community.
Now, that comment is very interesting, that one person can't control a whole department. The Rochester Police Department reaches out to the community frequently, asking for help to help solve crimes and so forth. So why wouldn't that extend to the internal behavior in terms of help? So it's an excellent point.
Well, that may be one of the reasons why the community does not step forward as often as it would, because it's poor relationships, okay?
Absolutely.
Because of the poor treatment, that RPD, basically perpetrates on the public, okay? Yeah. So we get much more in the way of communication, okay? If a lot of those suggestions were followed, but I can't wait until the day when we have a police watchdog with some subpoena power, because that's the only time that we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of this nonsense and turn it around.
I can attest to the fact that the internal affairs, they call it professional standards.
That's a joke.
I'll go that far to say it is a joke. A son of mine was abused by the police.
You were abused. I was abused.
We all have.
You got the runaround.
We all have our stories to
Still
tell.
waiting for
The police banged my son's head on the car. I was out of town at the time. I came back, his eyes all swollen and so forth. We filed a complaint, went through. No, right? I exonerated.
Absolutely.
And so at that point, just like your dad, I just went to City Hall and made an open statement that if another police abused a son of mine, I'm going to look for that police officer.
Exactly.
Period. If you can't handle them, they're not going to abuse my children.
And that's what they push people to do. I mean, because they have no resource. And the communication, like you were saying earlier, is totally broken down. There's a saying, and I've known this, I've heard this saying, and I've used it myself. I subscribe to this saying. I want to make it official here on TV. Calling the police is calling in another problem. I have witnessed them. I've been there when they come for a problem or a concern that a citizen has, and they end up escalating, trying to punk somebody, disrespect somebody. You know, instead of diffusing, they escalate, and they create situations.
And we're not saying always, because we understand that there are professional officers who follow the procedures and so forth. But this is broad-based and widespread. We're not talking about isolated incidents. It's widespread, and it does speak to the culture, and something needs to happen. So again, it's not about bashing the police, but it is about telling the truth.
Absolutely. It's about, I'm sorry, Howard, it's about, here's my thing, to put it in a nutshell, just two quick comments.
Okay.
Recently, there was a Caucasian, 25-year-old male, who led police on a chase through Fairport. This very recently, so the viewers will remember. And allegedly, and I always say that because it's a police saying this, so I got to say allegedly. Allegedly came at an officer. This officer, a Macedon police officer, drew his gun, claimed the only reason he didn't fire because there was another passenger in the car. So I totally don't believe that. I believe, and I'll take it a step further. Davy V will go out and say that the only reason this officer didn't fire, is because the suspect behind the wheel was not black or Latino. But Craig Hurd, a 14-year-old, scared, black,
Yes.
honor roll student. And people laugh when I say honor roll student. But you know why I say that? Because this young man had a future. This young man was not like Bob Lounsbury, which I exposed on my DVD too, saying he was a wolf. And there, THEY''RE, they're raised as predators. Who does he mean there? Does he mean the black man? So the reason I say honor roll student is because he had a future, which was ended by 2 RPD cops, Serge Savachev and Hector Pagam, that basically put 2 bullets in this young man's head. He was unarmed, he was scared, he was in a dead-end street. Like Reverend Graves said, they could have just waited him out. They executed Craig Hurd. They murdered Craig Hurd. His blood is on their hands to this day.
I hear you.
But notice the difference in the treatment. When a young man right now is in court and facing a multitude of charges, but guess what? The difference? He's alive.
I hear you.
And Craig Hurd is dead.
Yeah, well, we remember that case very well. In fact, we worked with Miss Westbrook.
Yes, we did.
His mother,
yes.
Craig's mother, Miss Westbrook, around public support for her and so forth.
Absolutely.
But before we leave the idea of the hotline, how soon will that hotline be up and running? Because we surely need in this community.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
What I want to cut you off. What I'm planning to do is within the next 3 months is when I'll have it up. And the only thing that I'm working on now is I want to make, there's certain things where when I say cop watch, there's a reason to that. And I don't want to disclose because there's a plan that I'm setting in motion where literally, there will be people in the community. It's funny, the police have PACTAC. I don't know if that's still around.
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, even though I haven't come up with the acronym for my plan, we're going to have a version of PACTAC, which is basically going to be dedicated individuals who have been doing this already. Basically being more vigilant of police officers, particularly the RPD in the city, during traffic stops. So there's going to be a lot more cameras out there, and that's as much as I'll say. But hopefully within the next 3 months, this will be in place. And again, it'll be an outlet for people to get not only information, but also people, since I'll be the first one to say, and I don't want to contradict myself because I'm going to offer people this information, but internal affairs is not the best or the only way to go.
This reminds me of the Guardian.